Hi there, I'm Ian McTavish, and I'm the founding mentor of Team 4152 Hoya Robotics. And with me is Will Tempest, who is our current captain. Before I begin this session, I just want to put a shout out to our sponsors. Our team could not exist without their support and their expertise, and really appreciate everything that they do. So as I mentioned, I'm Ian McTavish. I teach at Huntsville High School in Huntsville, Ontario. And when I am not building robots, we run a flower farm, Indigo Rain Flower Farm in Huntsville. So our journey began back in 2012, and this is a team that you might recognize, 1305. And Nancy brought down some students, and some of these people are still involved. And some of our students, this was kind of the beginning. So they came to show off their robots so that we could get a handle on what it was all about, because we were considering joining. And this is where mentorship started. So they started mentoring us, and in turn, we've also mentored a number of teams in the process as well. And the biggest thing, the biggest message that I want to get out there is that robots, we build robots, but it's more than just a sport or club. The competition part is a lot of fun, and it's a very motivating aspect of it. But for me, it's very personal. So on the left, this is a picture of Hans. He was a friend of mine for many years before he passed away, and he was a quadriplegic, so um, he couldn't move his limbs from the neck down. And this was back in the 80s when that was a pretty devastating thing. But you get him in his wheelchair, and he had a mechanical wheelchair, so he could push his head back, and that would engage a button that would allow him to drive his wheelchair forward. And he had little parts on the side, so if he put his head to the left, it would allow his wheelchair to turn left and turn right. And this, for me, really got me interested in the concept of robotics and everything, and just the ability to take a machine and a mechanism and provide access and um, to be able to make a difference in somebody's life. That's very powerful. And so it's something that I'm very passionate about. On the right, we've got a picture. I've run different Techno Girls programs over the years, and this was one of our first ones. And the whole point of it was to introduce female students to technology and some of the different options are that are out there. So we've mentored quite a few teams. We started with mentoring the Haliburton Highlands Secondary School team, 5324. And so this was their first season. We took them down to Crescent School, where there was a quick build. So at the beginning of the season, we built robot together. And then we also went to Haliburton to help them get organized for their season. So with mentoring, it part of it is getting out into your community. So for many years, Trillium Lakelands District School Board has run a Robo Fair, and we've been part of the organizing committee for that for well over five to 6 years or so. So this was back in 2015, where we were doing a presentation for the Robo Fair. And the whole point is that this is drawing students from all over our board. And Trillium Lakelands District School Board ranges from Huntsville to Haliburton to um, Lindsay. And so there's 7 high schools. And so getting out there and getting exposure to all these elementary schools was really crucial to inspiring students to start teams in the other high schools. So in addition to Haliburton, we've started teams in Bracebridge and Gravenhurst, Fenelon Falls, and we are starting a team in IE Weldon and Lindsay. So basically, we'll have started 6 teams out of 7 high schools, which is pretty phenomenal. In our local community as well, we started some first Lego League teams. So these are some of the members from the Huntsville Public Library team and from the Riverside team, showing some of the resources that we were able to get. And it's pretty exciting because some of these students in this slideshow are actually team members now. They're in grade 9 now, and they've joined our robotics team, which is awesome. So it's about building that capacity and making sure that you're engaging students in a variety of ages to get them involved. We also run a training camp. So this is a training camp that we run at Camp Big Canoe in Bracebridge. And we have brought our first LEGO League students there as well. And again, we have a former build captain in the picture there, my son Liam, and Jeff, who is now our current build captain, is in this picture. And so it's pretty awesome, the connections, the students that graduate from this program and move on to the high school. Other crucial component is just getting awareness in your communities. So this is a couple of years ago, we had our member of parliament and our mayor and our member of provincial parliament come and visit us and check out our robot. And those connections have been really crucial. When we bring in these people and bring in some of our sponsors, it's allowed us to make new connections and new sponsors and get funding that we couldn't access before. So it's made a huge difference in our own program. And it's one of those things where when you help others, you end up helping yourself. And by raising that awareness, we end up building up multiple programs, but we end up building ourselves up too. And not just leaders in our local community, but also in our school board. So Bruce Rain is our local trustee, and we've brought trustees to different events, our Techno Girls program and our training camp at Camp Big Canoe. And it's really important to get them in and see what the kids are doing. Really thrilled both of these trustees have come to competitions in North Bay to see us at the Nipissing FRC events, and the awareness for them is huge, because then they're talking to their colleagues, they're talking to the principals, and you're really getting people engaged and interested. And we've had the good fortune of being able to speak at board meetings and speak for principals and just getting them on board. Another key component you've probably heard from FIRST Robotics is learn from the best. And that is such a concept that is so crucial. And so at our Big Canoe training camp, we've brought in John Hobbins. So we have our Gravenhurst school there, our Bracebridge school. So we bring in the other schools, and we're bringing in excellent speakers. And we like to think that we know what we're doing now. And we've got to that stage because we've made a lot of mistakes on the way and we learn from it. But being able to bring in people that are the best of the best is a great way to really improve our own skills and to help our teams. And again, this is something that we've tried to do. We were successful in 2015 in bringing in students from a variety of schools to the North Bay event to come and see the competition. Unfortunately, there were a number of years where snow days, we had buses booked and students ready to go, and we had snow days and could not bring them. So it's unfortunate, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. And up in the top right is Sarah, and she was a student that was supposed to come on the bus. I think this was back in 2016 or 2017, and could not because of the snow day. And her parents ended up bringing her up to North Bay, and she watched the competition, and we invited her when we made it to provincial championships. She came and watched that, and she ended up starting the Bracebridge team. So that's a really crucial component. And just going back to our training camp, this picture just kind of exemplifies we live in Muskoka. We love Muskoka, and this is our one of our CAD workshops, and we're doing learning CAD outside, and just enjoying nature. That's kind of who we are. So the BMLSS team, they started, and we're really proud of their progress. They have a blue banner. They've won a number of awards, and it's thrilling to watch them grow and develop. So they have been a small team, but they work really hard at it. Gravenhurst has been another fantastic team. They've got a blue banner. They've won some awards, and they really put passion into everything they do. And I'm going to let one of their first captains speak about what we're doing in a few moments. So Falcon Automation, they're unfortunately, we're only able to send a teacher for this particular training camp, but it's been kind of neat because this teacher has so he came to our training camp, got them organized, they ran, and then he's ended up moving to Markham. So he's now started a team in Markham at the high school that he's at there. And we still stay in touch, which is fantastic. And Ryan, who took over the leadership at Fenelon Falls after he left, Ryan has now moved schools as well. And so he's one of the co-founders of the IE Weldon team that is starting up this year. And Falcon, Brian is still there and is going to be doing a great job with it. They're taking a hiatus with COVID this year, but they plan to compete in the 2023 season again. And this is our team at competition, and just really proud of these students. A lot of them, this was from a few years ago, a lot of them have graduated and moved on, but it's pretty neat because we've got students that have been the first people in their school, in their family, to go to university, and students that have endured a fair bit of difficulties in life and have really persevered, and robotics was a huge portion of that. So at our training camp, again, getting back to the learn from the best, Sean Lim runs a program called Bot Camp, and we brought them we were one of their first customers. They came and did a session with our students. So being able to train from all these excellent people makes a huge difference in how you can do stuff yourself. And this is the Gravenhurst student. I will let him speak for himself.
How did you get started with robotics?
Alright, so I sort of knew about the Huntsville robotics team for a while and knew what they were doing up here, but never really thought that it was something that we'd be able to get going. But in the spring, I decided, hey, might as well give it a shot. Saw a few of the things that they were doing online and decided to email Mr. McTavish. I started talking to him and got him coming into my school, bringing in some of the robots to show them off, to see, sort of what interest there was. And it turns out that there was a pretty big interest, not only with students, but also with our staff and our admin. So we were able to gather enough people to actually start our own team. And so come this fall, we got our own team going. We came up here, invited by the Huntsville Robotics team, Team 4152, to their camp retreat to sort of, figure out what it's all about and make sure, that we got what it takes and to get people interested.
And this is our mall space. So one of the benefits of being from a small town is it's all those connections. And there was an empty storefront in the mall, and one of our parent mentors, she worked at the mall, and so she made some calls and talked to some people, and next thing we knew, we had a space in the mall. So we set up a half playing field, and we had practices there. And for Infinite Recharge, it was a huge bonus for us because we we ended up using the practice area and doing about 1,000 shots um, to really dial in our shooting mechanism, which paid off. We won the Quality Design Award at Georgian College that year, and it's been really good for raising awareness. We've actually supported a couple teams down in Toronto because their mentors happened to be traveling and saw the our display in the mall and called me up, and we've had them join us for some virtual meetings and things. And so this is at the mall. This is actually with 1305. We brought our parent team up to or down to Huntsville, I guess, and had a little competition for deep space to kind of test out the bugs as we were getting ready for competition. So with mentoring new teams, there's a couple key things. I really believe in checklists, and so I'm using a checklist with you. So the first thing is visit them, show them what you're all about. And it's like anything. You plant some seeds and you see if they'll flower in the future. And not all the seeds will flower, but you get out there and you put the work in. So that's a really key thing. And the biggest thing is that they're starting with nothing. So you want to make sure that you pre-plan the year and you walk them through what the year will look like. And we try to do that at our camp retreats so that it's in the fall. They go in knowing, okay, this is going to happen at this point, and then this will happen and stuff. And there's some great resources. Spectrum Team 3847, if you look at their website, they've got a ton of resources. And the thing that I really like is they have an essential tools. So if you have $1,000 to spend, what are the tools you should buy? And that's a really key thing I find for new teams, is knowing what to invest in. And we often do stuff. So when we get the first choice, what I'll do is a conference call where I'll talk to the other mentors from the other teams and go, this is what I would get and why, and what I wouldn't get. And they make their own decisions, but they've told me that that information is really useful for them. There's also Spectrum has training videos, and there's a ton of training videos out there. Helix Robotics designing a robot. There's a lot of Onshape, how to CAD a robot, and some really good stuff. One other thing is run a quick build. At our camp retreat, we always try to build a robot at the camp. Sometimes it's a bit challenging because the camp, we have to bring all our tools, but that makes a world of difference for the teams because they've gone through the process. They've wired the electrical, they've done the pneumatics, they've did the assembly, and it makes it a lot easier for them. The other thing is virtual training. I do Onshape training for the teams and programming training, and do it online. That way distance isn't a factor. We can use Google Meet, and it just makes it easier to get things done. A key aspect of a new team is there should be a minimum of 2 mentors. And what I try to emphasize with somebody is that you always want a tech person and an organizer. And this is the part where Halliburton, for example, they had the tech part covered, but they didn't really have somebody that was good at organizing the students. And that's a crucial component. Having somebody that will tap kids on the shoulder and go, hey, I've heard about you. Do you want to join the robotics team? It's crucial. When I also run the school musical, and every time we do a performance, we always have a celebration afterwards. And one of the students, I remember him going, yeah, well, I wasn't going to go in the musical. And then I was in the library and Mr. McTavish tapped me on the shoulder and said, hey, I think you would be good at this. Try it out. And you do not underestimate the impact that kind of thing can have. Going over strategy with new teams. So having a mock kickoff. Karthik has a great presentation. And the biggest thing is having that strategy for, how do you plan for the game? How do you design? And how do you keep it simple? Because they'll want to do it all, and all of our child teams have won blue banners, and to me that's a huge feather in our cap, and it's mainly because we talked about not overextending yourself, playing to your strengths, and they've done a really good job of that. Going over the design process, the engineering design process, and how to do that, so crucial. Mechanisms. So for a lot of new teams, they get the idea, but how do you design a mechanism? So that's another thing that we do at Big Canoe, is we try to have some mechanisms and how to prototype them and stuff. That's a key aspect. The EveryBot and the Robot in 3 Days are huge. So we try to show those resources because they might choose to go that route. And for a new team, it's a really good strategy. It keeps it simple. And I've already mentioned First Choice, but there we go. That's the presentation. Really hope some of that information was useful. And the key thing is that we are about making a difference, and we're more than just robots. We're building students, and the robot is simply the tool that we're using to do that. Have a great day.